Believe it or not, the word hive mind is actually in the dictionary, and it's defined as the collective thoughts, ideas, and opinions of a group of people regarded as functioning together as a single mind. So humans, we have a hive mind. And obviously, I think the word hive mind comes from a beehive. You know, the way that bees collect together in a hive and somehow they all think alike. How does that happen? Well, virtually all critters, except for reptiles, have a hive mind. They belong to that tier. They belong to that matrix, as I sometimes call it. Monkeys, they refer to it as a troop. Some people talk about a barrel of monkeys. Lemus, they say there is a conspiracy of lemus. Sheep, there's a flock of sheep. There's a pride of lions, so forth, flock of birds, so forth, so on. And these are all hive minds when the critters think alike subliminally. Now remember, maybe a few videos back we used the word liminal, and liminal means that space in between. It's not light, it's not dark, it's just kind of gray. It refers to like dusk or maybe dawn. But subliminal is beyond that. I mean beneath that. Subliminal is just dark. But because it's dark doesn't mean it's not there. And you know that if you've ever walked around your house when it's pitch black and you ran into something, it was there. You couldn't see it, but it was there. Or maybe you could see the evidence of something, like you could feel the air from a fan. You can't see it, but you know it's there. Maybe there's an aroma. You can't see it, but you know it's there. And so it is with a hive mind. You can't see it. Most people, it's subliminal. And they don't even know it's there. But you can see it in their behavior, the way that they work together. Now, to pull this all together, I want you to imagine that there's a beehive. And they obviously have a hive mind. And then I want you to imagine there is a autistic bee. And looks like all the other bees, as far as you can tell, may be some oddities about him. I guess bees, you know, the drones would be hims. But he doesn't get it. You know, how do all these other bees know what to do? Nobody taught them. They didn't go to bee school to learn this stuff. And so the bee, who is autistic, tries to fit in, but he just doesn't. And the other bees get a little bit frustrated with him, and they push him aside. Or they try to get away from the bee who is autistic because, well, the bee is not stupid. This part of the mind of the other bees, the hive mind, for some reason, doesn't exist in this particular bee. That's autism. So there is a human hive mind. Again, the definition is a group of people regarded as functioning together as a single mind. People who are autistic, they don't have a hive mind. So what we're addressing today is, what do we do about it? What do we do with life if we're not part of the hive mind? Not part of the tier, not part of the matrix. And as we all know, in the matrix and the tier and the hive mind, everybody is climbing toward the top. I have no idea why they would want to do that, and I'm not sure that people who are autistic are exempt to that desire or that natural urge, but because we tend to be kicked out of the hive altogether. We're not on the bottom tier. I mean, some are. But most of us are just totally out of it. We're not even a part of it. We're not a member of it. And if we try to get in and we feel a compulsion to be part of the hive mind, the other humans, the other bees, they make sure that we're not part of it. And if we do try to get part of it, they just climb over top of us. And that's what we're there for as far as they're concerned. So what do we do with this? Well, first of all, we have to understand that, yeah, it is subliminal. That other people don't even seem to know it exists. They do it, but they don't know they're doing it. They don't even realize they're doing it. When you go to school as a first grader, kindergartner, now I guess they have preschool, and the other kids are playing naturally, they just do it, and you are autistic, you want to join in, but you don't know how. It doesn't make sense to you. And so that component of the hive mind that is subliminal, we need to acknowledge it. So number one is we just have to acknowledge that it's subliminal because that helps us understand what are the people doing. They don't know they're doing it. I mean, do birds know that they're flocking together? I mean, they don't think about it. They just do it. The monkeys know that they're hanging out with monkeys and not with gorillas. They don't think about it. They just do it. And people do what they do. They participate in the hive mind without giving it a lot of thought. It's instinctive. And we could say that, it's God-given if you're a creationist, or you could say that it's natural if you're a naturalist, but either way, it's there. It's obvious. We can't see it, but we can see the outcome of it in virtually every animal that exists, except for reptiles. So we have to understand that it's subliminal, because if we don't, we get frustrated, because we think people are intentionally kicking us out. And yeah, they kind of are intentionally, but they're subliminally motivated to do it intentionally. And that tells us this: it's never going to stop because it's embedded in their genetic composition. So there will never ever be a point in time, in your life, in my time, or my life, where the hive mind goes away. Doesn't matter if you're a human, if you're a monkey, if you're a lion, if you're a sheep. The hive mind, if you're a bee, the hive mind, just part of nature. It's going to always be there. So now that we understand that it's subliminal, that it's there, now we have to do this exercise in which we decide how we're going to deal with this. Well, first of all, I think after we decide, or after we realize it's subliminal, we have to ask ourselves, do I want to be in the hive mind, or do I want to be out of the hive mind? Now, to be in the hive mind is very challenging. It's very difficult. Sometimes it's downright impossible. To be out of the hive mind is very challenging. Sometimes it's just downright impossible. So it's difficult to do either one of them. So we have to decide which difficulty do we want to participate in. Do we want to be in the hive mind and go through all that frustration, or do we want to be out of it? Now, typically, the hive mind, the group, the tier, make the decision for us. The hive mind makes the decision for us. And the decision is, you're not part of it. You're kicked out. So all of society, by the way, is based on the hive mind. Schools are structured around a social context. Churches are structured around a social context. Your neighborhood is structured around a social context. Everything is, and in a lot of ways that's very good. Particularly when it comes to traffic lights. They got to be there, and 1,000 other things just like them. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a thing, and we have to deal with it. So the hive mind is a part of virtually everything, and we need to decide if we're going to be in it or out of it. And even a family reunion, there's a hive mind. If there is a political party, there is a hive mind. It's there. Wherever there are two or more people, there's a hive mind. Somebody is struggling to become more of an alpha than the other person. That's just the way it is. So are we in or are we out? Now, what I have decided is, and you have to make your own decision, but I've decided I'm out of it. I've tried it. I've been forced into it, for 12 years of my life in school. I had no choice. If you don't go to school, your parents go to jail. So you have to be part of the hive mind and all the abuse that comes with it. And it's horrible. And I had it pretty good compared to what a lot of autistic, Asperger's people have to face when they're in school. So yeah, I had it pretty good. But still, that was very frustrating, very taxing emotionally. So I've decided I'm going to be out of it because I just don't have a choice unless I'm forced to be a part of it. Well, that's difficult, that's challenging when you need to have employment just to live. But still, they won't let you be a part of it. At least they wouldn't let me be a part of it. I think the longest I ever held a traditional job was 6 months. I didn't get what was going on. They didn't get me. I wasn't able to communicate. I wasn't able to socialize. It doesn't matter if I could do the job as a bee very well. I was a good bee. I was a good worker bee. But I didn't socialize well with the other bees. And so the other bees didn't want me around because they thought I was weird. And I guess from their perspective, they were right. I was kind of weird, still am. And I've learned over the years to try to be a little more accommodating, understanding their perspective, so that you can function a little more efficiently and out of courtesy to them, not just for myself. But still, I'm out of it. I can't go to church, I can't go to school, I can't go to work, I can't go to a family reunion, I can't go to a political organization, party, or meeting. I can't do any of those things. If I try, I wind up, the proverbial wallflower. Well, I'm the wall weed. I don't even look like a flower. I'm kind of ugly. So I'm just, why even bother to go? Does it work? So once you decide, at least for me, that I'm out of it, then I have to decide if I'm going to be a part of distinctive thinking or instinctive thinking. Now, the hive mind is instinctive thinking, and I'm not part of the hive mind. So I'm going to make the decision. Which am I going to be? Am I going to try to be part of instinctive thinking, which is part of the hive mind, which is something that I cannot do? I can play basketball better than I can do that, and I can't play basketball. So this decision for me, well, the decision was already made for me by nature. And that is, I'm going to have a distinctive mindset, not instinctive. That's not necessarily a bad thing, though, because that means that I think independently, that I'm not influenced so much by the group. Sometimes we are. The fact that I speak English tells me that I've been influenced by the hive mind because they all speak English. The fact that I wear my hair the way I do, the way I dress is a little bit different. Maybe my hair is not as neat and tidy as theirs seems to be, but by and large, they do have an influence on me, and still, I'm distinctive. That can be a good thing, because a lot of times you rise above the hive mind. And I think every person who is autistic needs to grasp what I just said. You cannot rise above the hive mind if you're part of it. The very best you can do is be the alpha. And everyone in the hive mind is struggling to become the alpha. Evidence? Got some for you. Go to a grocery store and watch people in line. They are impatient. They want to get to the front of the line. They got nowhere to go. I mean, they're off work. It's time to go home. Maybe cook dinner, but is there a rush? Some of them maybe, but by and large, they all can't be. They behave like they got to go to the emergency room because if they don't, they're going to die. So they have to get to the front of the line as quickly as possible. Of course, if that were true, I would just stop at the grocery store on the way to the emergency room. Another observation in this hive mind mindset of becoming the alpha, watch how people drive. They all want to be the head of the line. It seems like everybody wants to get in front of the other guy. At least that's the way it looks to me. I'm perfectly content. Not when I was younger, but now I'm perfectly content to drive the speed limit and watch them pass me. I haven't had a speeding ticket in 20 years. When I was a kid, teenager, I would get my biannual speeding ticket because every time I got in the car, I was part of the hive mind in that sense, and NASCAR. We've talked about that, I think, before. But observe how people drive. And they're all rushing to get in front of the other. What is that? That is instinctive thinking. That's what I believe. I think that is just something in their nature that tells them to become the alpha. And to become the alpha, you got to get ahead of that guy who's driving the Ford Taurus, or the Taurus rather, or the one of those little pink cars, Prius, But whatever it is, the semi-tractor trailer, you got to get in front of it. And when you do, guess what? There's another one. There's another vehicle to get in front of. And you do that all the way till you get to California and to the Pacific Ocean. And what is it? Highway 10 that terminates at the Pacific Ocean. And if you get there, and I actually was there, then you're in front of the line. To me, it seems so silly. But that is how the hive mind works. We're all struggling. Those who participate in the hive mind, which is almost everyone, are struggling to become the alpha. And you can see that in the way they behave in the grocery store, in a line, anywhere. You can see that in the way they drive, Everybody's pushing to get to the front. It's instinctive thinking. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be distinctive thinking. A distinctive thinker, I should say. I want to stand back, look at the hive mind, observe what they're doing, notice how they drive, how they push to get to the front of the line in the grocery store, how they behave at the workplace, always struggling and fighting to get wherever they're going. And I want to say, I choose to not be a part of that. No longer are they going to choose for me, and it really doesn't matter, because either way I'm out of it, but I want to be distinctive. I want to take control of it. I want to realize that I can't rise above the hive mind if I'm a part of it. And it doesn't matter instinctively, something inside of me says, as a human, you're supposed to be part of the tier, part of the hive mind. You're supposed to be part of the matrix. But when I engage my distinctive, independent thinking, I realize how foolish that is. And that, my friends, I believe, is why most great accomplishments, or at least many great accomplishments, are achieved by people who are autistic, because they're not held back. They're independent thinkers. Number 4 is you have to decide, after you decide whether you're going to be instinctive or distinctive, you have to decide if you're going to be with or without the hive mind. Now, the reason I say that is you don't have to be in the hive mind. You don't have to be in the matrix to work with it. For example, when I owned my business, did fairly well, didn't become, who's the richest guy in the world right now? They keep changing places. Didn't become Elon Musk or Bill Gates or anything like that, but I did okay. But I worked with the hive mind. I wasn't in it, but I worked with it. I was not an employee. I was nobody's employee. Worked for myself. Okay, so I was my employee. So I was outside the hive mind. But I worked with all these other hive minds. I worked with them, but I worked outside of them. So you have to make that decision. Do you want to work with them or do you want to work without them? You don't have to work with them. You could go out in the woods, build a cabin, I guess, go up to Canada where no one will find you. And some people actually do that. Or you could go out in the jungle somewhere and set up camp and, survive the best you can. You could be a survivalist. I don't know why they call them survivalists, because they don't survive very long, but you could do that. Personally, I think it's a pretty bad option. Maybe for a week or two just to get away from everybody. But I don't want to live without the hive mind or hive minds, because it makes for a very difficult, challenging living. I can live outside of it and still live with it. I can live outside the hive mind, but I can still live with the hive mind and take advantage of it. I can rise above the hive mind and still take advantage of it. Number 5, and this is our last point, is, if you're not part of the hive mind, why fret it? I mean, who cares? And I'm noticing that when I get depressed, typically it is triggered by the fact that I have been rejected. And I'm guessing that it's probably true. That's probably true of many people who are autistic. The fact that you live in a perpetual state of rejection, that makes you depressed. And depression is a signal that something is wrong. But it's not wrong. It's not wrong to not be part of the hive mind. It's different, but it's not wrong. But there's something innate, something inside of us that says we're supposed to be part of that thing. But once you understand it cognitively, at least this is true for me, once I realized, hey, I don't want to be a part of that. I'm not good at it. So why bother? Why am I getting all depressed and upset being away from people who don't want me anyhow? Why would I be depressed when I can rise above this thing, speaking of the hive mind or the group or the tier or the matrix, whatever you want to call it, the social thing, social structure. If I can be above it, why would I want to be a part of it? In fact, now that I think of it, it should be more depressing to be part of the hive mind than to not be part of it. That's not instinctive thinking, that's distinctive thinking. You have to think on your own. So I've come to a conclusion, and you've probably heard me say this if you've watched my other videos, that I like being autistic. I don't want to be a part of that social structure. I keep trying and it never works. It's just frustrating. Why would I want to be a part of something that's so frustrating, so depressing? I like being who I am. I like rising above the hive mind. I like being independent. I like being able to work around it using, what would you call it? Just using my survival skills. Okay, there's a survivalist. Surviving without the hive mind. Being able to live without having a job. Working for yourself. And it's becoming easier, with the internet. What are these jobs, with Uber and Lyft and these companies that, I forget what you call them, where you go pick up food for people? Those are made for people who are autistic. Yeah, you kind of work for yourself and you can make a living. Amazing the direction we're going in. You would almost think that the internet was invented by people who are autistic for people who are autistic. Yeah, I like being autistic. I don't want to change. I don't want to go back. I say go back, I never was there to begin with, but I don't want to go back to trying to be a part of it. If you got something out of this video, why not subscribe? Because, I'm so glad that you watched and stayed with me all the way to the very end because, well, apparently you're learning something, you're getting something out of it, it's beneficial to you. And if it's beneficial to you, that means, well, my time was not wasted. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, that helps. Spread it, that helps connect with YouTube and its algorithms. If you have something that you want to add or start a conversation, leave a comment in the comment section. That's the only place you can leave a comment, by the way. And we'll see you next time.